Hello community, welcome to a new story titled, 11 Years After My Wife's Unfaithfulness and I'm Still Hurting All Over. Well, let's get started, and don't forget to stay tuned for new stories and updates. Hi all. My wife cheated on me with her first boyfriend 11 years ago in 2011. We had been married for almost 5 years when it happened. We were having a bad time before it happened. I used to work for a company where I had to sleep away from home 6 out of 10 nights. That year we started fighting more and more for many reasons. One particular one is that I was carrying all the load of home expenses whereas she was only helping with our then 4-year-old daughter's school fees. That created a lot of resentment on me as I never agreed with that setup. She was overspending her money in clothing and other stuff and not helping me much. We married relatively young at 26. Most of her friends were still single and she was hanging around more and more with them. We used to have a nanny and a maid so that she did not have many chores to do at home. We used to talk over the phone quite often, 3 times a day, but we stopped doing it as we started drifting apart. We were friends of her ex and his wife. Not close, but we had been at their place a few times and honestly I did not feel any threat from him. I regret that a lot as I was not jealous, even when I saw she had him in her contacts list. It never crossed to my mind that she was capable of cheating on me. She used her phone quite a lot, many times ignoring me in purpose, and I just hated it. One night we again fought badly and I went to sleep in a hotel. She was very resentful after this. Then everything started going from bad to worse. No relationships, it was scarce already, and no real conversations. One night, we hosted a party with some friends and she left her phone in the kitchen. I went to drink some water and the phone started ringing. It was 11 p.m. so a bit late for a phone call. I checked the name and it was a friend that I never heard of. I did not answer the call, but instead I confronted her. She was saying it was an old friend from school and that she did not know the reason for the call. I called back but never had an answer. Feeling that something was wrong, I followed my gut and bugged her phone. I will always regret to what happened after. For some reason I did not check the details of her movements for days. There was even one Saturday that she had to go to work as she used to, but this time she was dressing up quite hotter than normal, with heels and perfume. I asked her who was she going to meet with a sad and concerned face. She noticed my distrust and told me, "Don't be silly, I love you." I believed her. I actually thought on following her and did not do it for some reason. Even worse, I did not check her movements shortly after that. Anyways, one night, 10 days later, I was at my work accommodation when she called me and told me she was going to meet a community leader so could not take phone calls. That was weird to me, so the next day I logged in my computer and finally checked her locations. She was in one hotel for 1 hour instead of the community leader's place. That was when I started reviewing all the data that the phone had captured. Although I could not check the content of text messages, I still could see the dates and times of the conversations and messages exchanges. It was pretty obvious something was going on as these were very late. I called her and confronted her, and after some divagation she finally confessed. Then I called her lover and told him I knew everything. The guy denied it all, such a coward. I was feeling really bad and depressed that day when suddenly I got an email from this guy's wife. It seems someone who knew both my wife and him actually saw them when she got into his car and followed them to the hotel. Then they sent an anonymous email to the wife and she then sent it to me. So the issue was popular now. Quite bad in my town, which is very small. My wife begged me to meet her that same night. I declined at the beginning but ended yielding to her request. I asked permission at work to leave site. We met and talked. Probably the worst night of my life by far. She was begging me for forgiveness. I was simply asking why and how she had the courage to do what she did. I had never been in such a shocking state and also have never seen her as she was that night. Crying, begging, and unsure why she did what she did. I was mad that she had the decision in her hands and then she was giving me the role of deciding about the relationship's future after what she had done. She said they met that Monday as she wanted to finish things with him. She could not have relationships that night since she just had an IUD procedure and she was bleeding and with pain. Still, I was simply in shock and could not understand many things, let alone believe on what she was telling me. I had to return to work next morning. I was in the middle of my roster away from home and could not get out from the camp anymore. I decided to call her lover again and confronted him. I told him I was not going to make a scandal, neither to call his wife provided he confessed the details of the affair. I guess I still wanted to protect my family and leave everything as a rumor. He agreed. He told me some similarities of what my wife told me, such as the duration of the affair, 2 months, the number of times they had relationships, 3, and what happened the last time they met. I still coughed some lies from my wife, which was devastating. The guy had the guts to tell me that my wife loved me but she was very lonely and vulnerable and he just took advantage of that. What a piece of bad, since I later learned that his wife was very pregnant. I asked him to leave my wife alone and to sort the mess with his wife. He told me he had denied everything, so she was still unsure of the affair. Anyways, I kept searching the data from my wife's phone and noticed she was with her lover that Saturday when I asked her why she was getting so pretty. She denied at the beginning but then accepted it. That finished breaking my heart. I was desolated. She continued begging for forgiveness, however I told her I was going to think about it. I traveled to another city to my mother's place with my daughter to think what I wanted to do. My parents were divorced, hence I grew up without my father. Did not know until recently when I had therapy, but it seems this situation really affected me, causing me to be afraid to be alone, emotional attachment issues. Back in the day I was thinking mainly in my daughter. I did not want her to grow up without me. I loved my wife. I knew we were in a real bad spell when all this happened and she seemed really regretful. She actually contacted her aunt, closest relative she had, to intermediate between us. She was embarrassed as her aunt is very religious. Anyways, I thought about my decision for about a week, with my broken heart about what I wanted to do. It was such a horrible time. I finally decided to work things out, but under many conditions. My wife accepted, and the next 6 months really showed how challenging this situation is. I was basically not trusting on anything about her, judging her, insulting her, attempted to leave her a few times. Then there was one day that she basically got too much and did not stop me. She said that she could not continue like this. As much as she tried to remediate things, it was going to be impossible for her to amend things. She indeed was acting the best she possibly could, and I was simply humiliating her at every single opportunity. After that day I stopped being a fool. 11 years later and many things have occurred. We live now in a different country, have a second child and shared lots of beautiful moments. However, our relationship has many ups and downs. We also fight badly quite often, no physical, and lately I started feeling depressed because her affair 11 years ago, not sure why. Unfortunately, I can't see her as the pure person I would like to, and I know I am not giving 100% in the relationship due to my constant resentment. I love her, but many times I think if it was the right decision to try to continue our marriage. Many times I get back in time and think about the things I should have said or done. I feel disappointed with myself for not being harsher or brave enough to finish it. It boils my blood to think I did not have revenge against her lover or even telling his wife. It is driving me crazy. We still have amazing relationships when we are okay. But I can't stop making images of when she was with him. 11 years and still hurts a lot. It is hard to accept it and let it go. What did you think about this story? Also, do not forget to stay tuned for new stories and updates. Greetings. Best comments. 1. 11 years and you still feel the rage and the resentment/regret of actions not done. I'm sorry to say this, but to me, your situation is the best outcome that reconciliation can offer. A life of purgatory where every day is a struggle between the hope that things will be better and the misery of the past. I'm sorry for your plight, mate. Spot on. Need to try to focus more in the present and accept the past. However, going is very difficult. 2. It is true. You have to try to focus more on the present and accept the past. But it is very difficult. I think you misunderstood what the poster was trying to convey to you. The poster is telling you that your bad situation is the best you can hope for when you reconcile with a cheater. He's not telling you to delude yourself by focusing on the future and trying to ignore the past. You obviously can't forget it, nor should you. He's simply telling you that this is probably the best you can hope for. Oh boy. Lucky you. Reconciliation is simply the betrayed spouse agreeing to eat that nice big bad sandwich served to them by their unfaithful one. Find your self-esteem and find a different diet. 3. You seem to be slightly suffering from the invested time fallacy. The best years of your life are always the ones you have left. Look yourself in the mirror. Look at the last 11 years. What you have been through. Good and bad. Then talk to an individual consultant. Discuss gaining back your self-respect. Through realizing that the only person that an issue reflects on your spouse, not you. An individual advisor should be able to help you assess whether you can do that. If you cannot, have them help you develop the tools to move on. 4. Have you done the necessary steps for your recovery? Having waited so long, it might be too late. I was married younger than you and had the same situation with work. My wife hit up several guys. You need to find out firstly what's best for you. I realized all too late that what I was doing, staying, treating her well, showing her love instead of working on myself, forgiving the affair so early and completely was not the way to healing or reconciliation. My wife is currently in an emotional engagement and doesn't know that I know it. There is also a process for that which I adhere to now that I know better. Trust process more than your emotions. Trust your intuition more than a process. I think that is the issue. I was so hurt that for some reason I rushed to fix the relationship first and tried to forgive soon rather than working on myself. 5. I tried reconciliation, which lasted about 4 months, then also discovered the affair continued after I ruled out divorce. I was out. I didn't want to live like that. I deserved Algene much better. At 11 years for you, it was the wrong decision. End it. Build the life you dream of. Now you know what to accept and what not to accept in a new relationship, red flags, etc. Kudos to you for trying, especially 11 years, wow. But my friend, you need to let go. 6. The point is that you stayed in the relationship because of your daughter, that she is raised by 2 parents, and because of your fear of abandonment. But there is nothing wrong about your decisions. What is bugging you now will never stop, because you will always see infidelity in her eyes and what she did. It is up to you to decide if you want to continue to stay in the relationship or not. Try to align your heart and brain on this. You will get to a point in life where you will realize that you did not live your life and you cannot do anything more about it. Probably you are at this point now. 7. Hi up. I think we all wish we had access to a time machine at some time in our lives. Sadly, we don't. We can't change the past. We can only move forward and do what we think is going to be best for us from now and into the future. It sounds like you didn't get the closure you needed to reconcile. Choosing to stop being ridiculous is not the same as coming to terms with what happened and being able to forgive and forget. Did your wife ever give you a satisfactory explanation as to why she carried out the affair? Was it as simple as she was selfish? Did she feel something was missing that you weren't providing? Or did she leave you with vague answers that never satisfactorily explained her actions? If the latter, then maybe you need to explore that with her again in therapy. Even after all these years. If that's not the case, then you need to work out, again with the help of a therapist, why it is you can't move on. See if they can give you advice or strategies that will finally allow you to find some inner peace. And it could be that they'll help you realize that even after all these years you will never be able to move on, and the best thing for everyone is to divorce. If I have the timeline right, you're in your early 40s. You're young. You still have plenty of time to meet someone with whom you can be happy, if that's what you want. All the best. I hope you find the healing you need, in whatever form you need it. Thanks, really appreciate your words. What did you think about this story? Also, do not forget to stay tuned for new stories and updates. Greetings.